When Ethan Cooper walked out of the conference room, his expression was so dark it was almost frightening. His secretary followed carefully at his heels. "Sir," the commander's wife called again. The secretary said softly, "She says it's urgent." "Don't answer," he said without looking back, striding toward his office. This was already the 5th call from me, Emily Lane, today. Ethan loosened his tie in irritation. His head was crammed with the military district reform plan. He had no time to deal with what he saw as a woman's unreasonable fuss. The office door was pushed open. I stood in the doorway with a document in my hand. "Ethan Cooper, let's get a divorce." On the day I was reborn, I said to him, "Ethan Cooper, let's get a divorce." I stood at the entrance of his office, watched the shock spread across his face, and felt an indescribable surge of satisfaction. In my last life, I gave up my career, my dreams for this man. I willingly became a soldier's wife, enduring the pointing and whispering in the military compound. And what did I get in return? His cold indifference when I was gravely ill. His absence when I needed him most. And after I died, the sweet reunion he shared with his first love. "Emily, what nonsense are you talking about?" Ethan frowned and stood up. "I just finished a meeting. I'm exhausted. Don't make trouble." I let out a cold laugh and set the divorce papers on his desk. "I'm not making trouble. I'm very serious. These are the divorce papers. I've already signed. You just need to sign." Ethan's face went ashen. "Emily Lane, do you even know what you're saying?" "Of course I do," I said calmly. "I want to divorce. This man, last time, I gave him everything. And in the end, I died on a hospital bed without even seeing his face. With a second chance at life, I will never make the same mistake again." "You're crazy," Ethan strode up to me. "You're perfectly fine. Why are you asking for a divorce? Did someone whisper something in your ear?" I stepped back, avoiding the hand he reached out to grab me with. "No one said anything. I figured it out myself. Our marriage was a mistake from the very beginning." A flicker of panic crossed his eyes. "What mistake? We've been married 3 years. We've been great. Really great." I nearly laughed. That's what I used to think too. That it was normal for him to be too busy with work to care about home. That his neglect came from being reserved. That his indifference to my health was just how soldiers were. Not until after I died, when I saw him and his first love, Claire Summers, holding each other and weeping at my funeral, did I understand. It wasn't that he couldn't care. He just didn't care about me. "Ethan, search your heart. How long has it been since you even looked me in the eye?" I stared straight at him. "Do you know what I like most? Do you know when my birthday is? Do you know why I've been running to the hospital so often lately?" His expression froze. I'd seen that look before. In my last life, when I questioned him for my hospital bed, he wore this exact same face, bewildered and at a loss, with a trace of anger at being exposed. "I've been busy with work," he said. "I've neglected you a bit, but that's not a reason to get divorced." He tried to pull me into his arms. "Emily, stop it. Let's go home and talk." "Talk about what?" I pushed him away. My voice cold. "About how busy you are. About how many calls you don't answer. Or about the woman in your heart." Ethan's face changed instantly. "What are you talking about? What am I talking about?" I let out a mocking laugh. "Ethan, Claire Summers is coming back to the country. Did you know?" His pupils contracted sharply. Just as I thought, last time was exactly the same. The news of Claire Summers returning to the country. He had known long before I did. "What does her coming back have to do with us?" he said, forcing a calm he didn't feel. "Emily, stop being so paranoid." "Is that so?" I pulled my phone from my bag and brought up a text message. "Then how do you explain this?" The message had come in this morning. The sender, Claire Summers. Ethan, I'm coming back next week. I'd like to see you if that's okay. In my last life, I had received the same message. Back then, I chose to believe him when he said they were just old friends. Now thinking about it, I can't believe how foolish I was. When Ethan saw the message, his expression turned completely dark. She sent this to you. Who else? I slipped my phone back into my bag. Ethan Cooper, do you think I don't know anything? Claire Summers is your first love. You two were together back in military academy. It was only after she went abroad to study that you married me. Now she's coming back. Aren't you looking forward to it? The office went so quiet it was almost oppressive. Ethan's face was as dark as storm clouds, but he said nothing. I waited for an explanation, for a denial. But there was nothing. Just like in my last life, he chose silence. So I was right, I said. I bent down and picked up the divorce papers from his desk. Since you won't sign, we'll just see each other in court. Emily Lane, he finally spoke. His voice edged with anger. Don't go too far. Too far? I turned to look at him. My eyes completely cold. Ethan Cooper, the one who's really gone too far is you. In these 3 years, what have you given me? Aside from the title of a soldier's wife, what else? When I was sick, you were working late. When I was lonely, you were in meetings. Whenever I needed you, you always had something more important to do. And now that I'm the one leaving, I'm the one being unreasonable. My words left him speechless. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. Ethan Cooper, let's stop torturing each other. You have someone else in your heart, and I don't want to stay in this meaningless marriage. Divorce will be better for both of us. With that, I turned to leave. Behind me came his low, threatening voice. Emily Lane, if you walk out that door, don't even think about coming back. My steps faltered for a moment, but I didn't look back. I had never planned on coming back. Stepping out of the military district building, I tilted my head to the sky. The sun was shining bright, the sky perfectly clear. This time, I was going to live for myself. I had barely walked out of the military district gates when my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law, Linda Foster. Emily, where did you go? Come back quickly. I made chicken soup for you. Hearing her warm, gentle voice stirred a complicated mix of feelings in my heart. In my last life, Linda had treated me well, at least on the surface. She would ask about my health, make me soup, and comfort me when Ethan was too busy with work. But after I died, she was the first to support Ethan being with Claire Summers. She's gone, and that's that. Ethan's still young. He can't ruin the rest of his life over someone who's dead. That's what she said after my funeral. I heard every word clearly. Mom, I have something to deal with. I'll be back later, I said, keeping my voice as normal as possible. What's keeping you so busy? Didn't Ethan say he'd be home early today to have dinner with you? Come home early and eat with him. I gave a bitter smile. On this exact day in my previous life, Ethan Cooper had indeed said those same words. But in the end, he still didn't come home because of work. I sat alone in the house waiting until late at night. Linda Foster had comforted me then, saying, a soldier's wife has to learn to be understanding. Maybe he has to work overtime tonight. We don't need to wait for him. After hanging up the phone, I went straight to the law firm by taxi. Since Ethan refused to sign the papers, I would go through legal channels instead. After hearing my situation, the lawyer frowned. Miss Lane, your husband is a high-ranking officer in the military district. For a divorce, you'll need approval from the organization, and the reasons you've provided may not be strong enough. What do you mean, not strong enough? I asked. Reasons like irreconcilable differences or personality conflicts. Courts usually suggest mediation first, unless there's clear evidence of wrongdoing such as infidelity or domestic violence. I stayed silent. In my last life, Ethan and Claire Summers had indeed been in contact, but they had been careful and left no proof. So what do I need to do? My advice is to try and negotiate with your husband first. If he agrees, the process will be much simpler. If he refuses, we'll need more evidence to prove that the marriage is truly broken. Leaving the law firm, I wandered aimlessly down the street. My phone kept ringing. It was always Ethan calling, but I didn't answer. It wasn't until 8 in the evening that I returned to the military compound. The moment I stepped inside, I saw that not only was Linda Foster in the living room, but several other officers' wives were there as well. "Emily, you're back," said Yvonne Carter, speaking first. "Come sit with us. We were just chatting." I changed my shoes and walked into the living room. I knew all these women. They were the wives of senior military officers, and they loved nothing more than gossiping about family matters. "Emily, I heard you went to see Ethan today," Linda asked with a smile. I answered lightly. "Ethan's so busy with work, you shouldn't go disturbing him," Yvonne cut in. "That's right," another wife chimed in. "As military wives, we should quietly support them." "Exactly. The men are out there serving the country and the people. We need to take care of things at home so they don't have to worry." Listening to them, I suddenly felt it was all absurd. In my previous life, I had thought the same way, believing that being a military wife meant unconditionally supporting my husband, enduring his neglect and indifference. Now I understood it was nothing more than self-delusion. "Emily, why aren't you saying anything?" Linda asked with concern. "I'm tired. I'd like to rest." I stood up. "You all go ahead and talk. I'm going upstairs." "Hey, Emily," I ignored their calls and went straight upstairs to the bedroom. The room was exactly the same as always. Simple, neat, and completely devoid of any trace of life. That was my marriage with Ethan Cooper. Harmonious on the surface, but cold as an ice cellar underneath. I took out a suitcase and began packing my things. I didn't have many clothes, even fewer pieces of jewelry. Most of it was just daily necessities. Halfway through packing, the door swung open. Ethan stood in the doorway, his expression dark. "What are you doing?" "Packing," I said without looking up, continuing to fold my clothes. "Packing to go where?" He walked toward me. "Emily Lane, stop this nonsense. I'm not making a scene." I stood up and looked straight at him. "Ethan Cooper, I went to see a lawyer today. If you won't agree to a divorce by mutual consent, I'll file for divorce in court." His expression grew even darker. "You've lost your mind. Do you know what kind of consequences this will have?" he demanded. "What consequences?" I asked. "I'm a senior officer in the military district. If you keep making a scene like this, it will damage my reputation and affect my future." Hearing that, I couldn't help but laugh. "So what you care about is your reputation and your future, not our marriage." "Emily, stop being unreasonable," he said, trying to grab my hand. "Whatever the problem is, we can work it out slowly, but divorce is absolutely out of the question." I shook his hand off. "Why not?" "Because it'll hurt your career." "It's not just about my career," he said, taking a deep breath. "Emily, we're husband and wife, we should understand each other and support each other." Understand each other. I gave a cold laugh. "Ethan Cooper, have you ever understood me?" My question stopped him cold. "Where were you when I was sick? Where were you when I was lonely? And where were you when I needed you?" I stepped toward him, forcing him to meet my gaze. "Your so-called understanding means I have to understand your busy work schedule. Understand that you have no choice and understand your indifference toward me." His mouth opened, but no words came out. "Ethan, I don't want to live like this anymore," I said, turning back to pack my things. "Divorce will be better for both of us." Just then, Linda Foster pushed the door open. "Ethan, Emily, what's going on?" When she saw me packing my suitcase, her face changed. "Emily, where are you going?" I didn't answer. Ethan's expression turned almost frighteningly dark. "Mom, please step outside and need to talk to Emily." "No need to talk," I said, pulling my suitcase upright. "I've already made my decision." "Emily Lane." Ethan finally exploded. If you dare walk out that door, we are finished for good. I stopped and looked back at him. Ethan, we've been finished for a long time. You just didn't know it. With that, I dragged my suitcase out of the room. Behind me, I could hear Linda's sobs and Ethan's angry shouts, but I didn't turn back. This time, I would never turn back. I moved into a small apartment in the city, the one I had rented before as a studio. 3 years ago, when I got married, I had given it up. Now, I was renting it again. The landlord, the same elderly lady as before, looked surprised to see me. Emily, didn't you get married? Why are you renting again? I have some things to take care of, I said, offering no further explanation as I paid 3 months' rent. Once I had settled in, I called my lawyer to confirm the procedure for filing for divorce. Miss Lane, are you sure you want to go through with this? The lawyer asked. From what I know, your husband has a very high position in the military district. If he refuses to cooperate, this case will be hard to win. I'm sure, I said and hung up. I began sorting through my old work materials. Before marriage, I had been a freelance writer specializing in travel and food. After I married Ethan, I gave up almost all my projects to accommodate his work schedule. Now it was time to start again. Opening my laptop, I began emailing my former partners. Hi, this is Emily Lane. I wonder if you still remember me. I'd like to start working again. Do you have any suitable projects? The replies came quickly. Emily, you're finally back at it. That's great. I happen to have a project right now, a deep travel feature on the ancient towns of Yunnan. Interested. Seeing that message, my eyes grew slightly wet. So there were still people who remembered me, people who needed me. In my last life, I thought being a good military wife was my only worth. Now I finally understood. I still had my own life to live. While I was replying to the email, the doorbell rang. I thought it was a delivery, but when I opened the door, I saw Yvonne Carter standing there with a thermal food container in her hands. Concern written across her face. Emily, what are you doing here? Ethan's about to lose his mind looking for you, she said. I didn't let her in. I'm fine. You don't need to worry. What do you mean? Don't need to worry. She frowned. Whatever problems you and Ethan have, you should solve them at home. Running away like this, what's that supposed to do? My business with Ethan Cooper is none of your concern, I said coolly. My cold tone made Yvonne look awkward. Emily, that's no way to talk. We've been friends for so many years. Of course I care about you. I almost laughed. In my last life when I was sick, this so-called friend was nowhere to be found. After I died, she was among those urging Ethan to start a new life, saying things like, the dead are gone, but the living have to go on. On. Yvonne, if you came here to be his messenger, please leave, I said, reaching to close the door. She quickly put her hand out to block it. Emily, listen to me. Yesterday during a meeting, Ethan was so distracted that the political commissar even asked if he was feeling unwell. Just look at how bad things have gotten, this is seriously affecting his work. So I asked flatly, so you should go back, talk things out slowly. She tried to persuade me with a gentle tone. There's no such thing as a grudge that lasts overnight between a husband and wife. If you keep making a fuss like this, it won't be good for either of you. I gave her a cold look. Yvonne, do you know there's someone else in Ethan Cooper's heart? Her expression changed instantly. What nonsense are you talking about? Claire Summers is coming back to the country. Did you know? Yvonne's face froze, making it clear she did. Emily, that's all in the past. Ethan's wife is you now. Yes, I'm his wife, but in his heart, what am I? My smile turned mocking. If it were your husband who had someone else in his heart, would you still be this generous? She had no answer for that. If there's nothing else, please leave, I said, closing the door. Through it, I could still hear her voice. Emily, calm down. Don't act on impulse. I ignored her and went back to my desk to continue working. In the afternoon, Linda Foster came too. this time not alone but with Ethan by her side. Emily opened the door. "I know you're in there," Linda called from outside. I didn't move. "Emily, come out. Let's talk." Ethan's voice followed. I still didn't respond. They stood outside for half an hour before finally leaving. That night, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. "Hello, Emily, it's me. Claire Summers." My grip on the phone tightened. "What do you want?" "I heard you and Ethan are getting a divorce," she said, her voice cautious. "What's it to you?" "Emily, I feel I owe you an explanation," she said, taking a deep breath. "Ethan and I are really just friends. There's nothing between us." "Nothing," I almost laughed. In my last life, I believed those words. Now they just sounded ridiculous. "Claire, whether there's something or not, I don't care," I said coolly. "I'm divorcing Ethan Cooper because our relationship is broken. This has nothing to do with you." "Really?" she asked, sounding as though she just breathed a sigh of relief. "That's good. I was worried my return to the country might have affected you too." "She said it won't," I replied flatly. "By the way, congratulations on coming back." "Thank you." She paused, then added, "Emily, Ethan is actually a good man. He's just not great at expressing himself. You two should talk things through. Don't act impulsively. Good man, just not great at expressing himself." Hearing that made a wave of disgust rise in me. "Claire, my issues with Ethan Cooper are none of your business." "I know, I hung up before she could finish. In my last life, this woman had worn the same mask, pretending to mediate between us while secretly hoping we would divorce. Now she had finally gotten what she wanted. I turned off my phone and lay down on the bed. Tomorrow, I would go to the courthouse to file for divorce. This time, I would not give anyone the chance to interfere. The divorce petition was filed. I sat in the law firm, listening as my lawyer analyzed the chances of winning. "Miss Lane, your husband has hired the best legal team in the capital. Clearly, he's not planning to cooperate." "I know," I said. "I expected that." Ethan Cooper was never going to let go easily, not because of love but because of pride. Still, the lawyer continued, "You can rest assured we have a chance. Under the new marriage law, if one party insists on divorce and the relationship is proven to be irretrievably broken, the court will grant it." "How long will it take?" I asked. "If everything goes smoothly, 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months. In my last life, I didn't even live that long. I was gone in 3, but this time I had enough time. There's one more thing," the lawyer added, regarding the division of assets. "Your husband's income is substantial, and he has some investments. You can seek a fair share." "I don't want the money." The lawyer looked surprised. "No money, Miss Lane, this is your legal right. I only want my freedom." Leaving the law firm, I went to the bank and closed every account tied to the bank cards Ethan had given me when we married. I didn't want a single cent of his money. That afternoon, the editor from the travel magazine called. "Emily, the Yunnan feature is confirmed. You can leave next week." "That soon?" "Yes, it's the perfect travel season." "You'll be going alone." "Will that be a problem?" "No problem. In fact, I've been wanting to leave this city for a while." When I returned to the apartment that night, I found a thermal food container left at my door. Inside was millet porridge and pickled vegetables, along with a note, "Emily, Mom knows you love millet porridge, so I made it especially for you. Whatever's going on, come home and talk. Don't suffer alone outside." Looking at the note, my eyes grew warm. I would be lying if I said I wasn't moved. Linda Foster truly had been good to me in many ways. But remembering how she acted after I died in my last life, that warmth quickly turned to coldness. People change. When interests clash, blood ties will always outweigh the bond of marriage. I poured the porridge down the sink, tore up the note, and threw it in the trash. The next day, the court summons arrived. The trial date was set for 2 weeks later. No sooner had I received it than Ethan called. "Emily Lane, are you really going to drag this to court?" This isn't dragging. It's the proper legal process. Do you know what kind of consequences this will bring? His voice was laced with fury. How will the media report this? What will my superiors think? That's your problem to worry about. Emily Lane, he roared. Don't push me. Push you to what? I sneered. Ethan Cooper, you don't actually think you can use your position to stop me from divorcing you, do you? There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line. Go ahead and try, he said at last, then hung up. My stomach sank. Given Ethan Cooper's position in connections, he could very well cause trouble for me. But I wasn't going to back down. That afternoon, I went to the police station to update my ID information, changing my emergency contact from Ethan to a college friend. Then I went to the bank and opened a new account ready to start fresh. After all that, I felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. So it really could be this simple: shedding a person, shedding a relationship. In my last life, I had been so foolish, believing love was everything, thinking I couldn't live without him. Now I knew the truth. I could live just fine without anyone. That evening, while I was packing for my trip, a text message came in. Emily, this is Yvonne. Tomorrow afternoon, there's a tea gathering. Everyone's been worried about you. You must come. I'd been to plenty of those officers' wives' tea parties before. They were nothing more than chatter about family gossip, showing off one's life and trading bits of rumor. In my last life, I enjoyed those gatherings, thinking they meant I was accepted, that I belonged in that circle. Looking back now, it was laughable. I didn't reply. I deleted the message. The next morning, I went to the law firm to confirm preparations for the trial. Miss Lane, my lawyer, said their lawyer contacted me yesterday. They want to discuss a settlement outside of court. What kind of settlement? Mostly to understand your true intentions, to see if some sort of agreement can be reached. Agreement? I gave a cold laugh. Tell them there's no chance. I only want a divorce. The lawyer nodded, understood. That afternoon, I went to the supermarket. I ran into a few officers' wives, and their expressions turned awkward when they saw me. Emily, one of them, whispered, stepping closer. Everyone knows about you and Ethan now. So what? I asked. We all think you're being too impulsive, she said. All couples fight, but taking it to court, that's going to sound terrible if word gets around. Then let it sound terrible. I don't care. But Ethan cares. Another chimed in. He looks awful these days, completely distracted in meetings. Awful. Distracted. I scoffed inwardly. In my last life, I'd been deathly ill, and he hadn't looked awful then. Now, over his precious reputation, he suddenly looked worn out. That's his problem. It has nothing to do with me. I pushed my cart past them. Behind me, I heard their murmurs. Honestly, how did she end up like this? She used to be so gentle, probably early menopause. One of them said under her breath. I didn't turn around. Let them talk. Soon enough, I'd be out of their circle for good. Back at my apartment, I started packing my suitcase. I was leaving for Yunnan tomorrow, a trip that would keep me away for at least a month, perfect for avoiding the endless persuasion attempts before the court date. Halfway through packing, the doorbell rang. I assumed it was another officer's wife here to talk me into going back. But when I opened the door, I saw Claire Summers. She wore a beige dress, her makeup perfectly done, looking every bit the picture of gentle elegance. No wonder Ethan couldn't forget her. Emily, sorry to bother you. She smiled softly. I wanted to talk to you. There's nothing to talk about, I said, and started to close the door. She quickly reached out to block the door. Emily, I know you've misunderstood something, but I really need to explain. I looked at her, suddenly feeling like I was watching a play. Come in. She sat on the sofa, glancing at me cautiously. Emily, I think you may have misunderstood my relationship with Ethan. Misunderstood? I lifted my teacup. Claire Summers, what exactly do you think I've misunderstood? We were college classmates, she said seriously. And yes, we did date, but that was all in the past. I've been overseas for years and we've barely been in contact. Barely in contact. In my last life, Ethan's phone had always contained her photos. Then why did you send him that text message? A faint blush rose to her cheeks. I just wanted to meet up with an old classmate, nothing more. An old classmate. I sat down my cup. Claire Summers, do you take me for a fool? She froze at my bluntness. You sent that text to Ethan's personal phone, I said coldly. If it was really just an old classmate thing, why not send it to his work phone? Why not reach out through other classmates? Why did you have to contact him privately? Her face shifted. And I continued, if there's really nothing between you two, why come to me? Why bother explaining? Feeling guilty. Claire's face went pale. Clearly she hadn't expected me to be this direct, this sharp. Emily, you've changed. She murmured. That's right, I have changed. I stood up. I'm no longer the foolish woman who knew nothing and believed everything. She bit her lip. Then what do you want? I don't want anything. I just want to divorce. What about me and Ethan? Whatever you and he do, I don't care. I walked to the door. Claire Summers, the door is right there. You can see yourself out. She didn't move. Emily, I hope you understand. I never intended to destroy your marriage. Is that so? I let out a cold laugh. Then what exactly are you here for? She was struck speechless. You came here for one reason, to find out if I'm really divorcing him or if I'm just throwing a tantrum. So I'll tell you now, word for word, I am really divorcing him. This isn't a tantrum. You can rest easy. Her eyes reddened. Emily, do you really hate me that much? I don't hate you, I said calmly. Hate requires emotion and you aren't worth any of mine. That clearly cut deep. She stood, tears spilling down her face. Emily, I know my return has caused trouble for you too. I can leave. Where you go is your business. It has nothing to do with me. She stared at me, disbelief in her eyes. You've really changed. I don't even recognize you. Claire Summers, you never knew me to begin with. I opened the door. Now please leave. As she passed me, she suddenly paused. Emily, if one day you regret this, I won't regret it. I cut her off. Just like you didn't regret choosing to go abroad back then, I won't regret the choice I'm making now. Her face turned even paler before she left in a hurry. I closed the door and leaned back against it, taking a deep breath. Claire Summers, our score is finally settled. The sunlight in Yunnan was warm and gentle, bathing me in its glow. It felt as if the whole world had brightened. I sat in a cafe in Dolly Old Town, sipping poor tea while sorting through the photos I'd taken over the past few days. The photographer traveling with me, Xiaoing, was a man in his 20s, quiet but very professional. A mess. Lane, this set of sunrise shots over Air High Lake is incredible. Your writing is going to make them even more beautiful, he said. Thank you, I replied with a smile and a nod. For this past week, I had almost forgotten all the troubles waiting for me back in Beijing. Every day I woke early to catch the sunrise, spent the day wandering through streets and alleys, and used my evenings to organize my notes. My life felt full and meaningful again. Most importantly, I had rediscovered the joy of working. A mess. Lane, have you not done much field work in recent years? Xiaoing asked curiously. No, it's been several years, I admitted after a pause. Why? For personal reasons, I said, leaving it at that. Sensing my reluctance, he tactfully didn't press further. That afternoon, we went to Kangshan Mountain. From the summit, we looked out over the entire Dolly Valley, distant mountains like ink strokes, Air High Lake like a polished mirror. Everything was so beautiful it felt unreal. I drew in a deep breath of fresh air, as if the heavy stone pressing on my chest for so long had finally been lifted. A mess. Lane, you seem to be in a really good mood, Xiaoing observed. Do I? You look much more relaxed, completely different from when you first arrived. He was right. When I had first come, I still carried the shadow of Beijing with me. Now I felt alive again. That evening, back at the inn, I opened my laptop and began writing the day's travel notes. The 19 peaks of Kangshan each have their own personality, like life itself. Rising and falling, highs and lows, yet every stretch of the journey holds its own unique scenery. I paused. It sounded too much like inspirational fluff, not my style. I deleted it and started again. The stones of Kangshan are remarkable, layered upon layer, recording millions of years of geological change. The guide says some stones look fragile, but in truth are harder than steel. This felt more factual and more interesting. In the middle of writing, my phone rang. The number was from Beijing, but not even. "Hello, Emily, it's me." Yvonne came the voice on the line. I frowned. "What is it? Where are you? I haven't been able to reach you for so long." "I'm working." "Working?" She sounded genuinely surprised. "You're still working?" It was such a strange question. In her mind, a military wife was supposed to stay home, take care of her husband, raise the children. Work was unnecessary. "Of course I'm working. I'm not useless." "That's not what I meant," she said quickly. "I just meant Ethan's salary should be enough, shouldn't it? Yvonne, Ethan Cooper and I are about to be divorced. His salary has nothing to do with me." There was a few seconds of silence on the other end. "Emily, I called to try to talk some sense into you." "Again?" My voice edged with impatience. "I've already told you. There's no room for discussion, but Ethan is really miserable. He says he's lost weight over the past 2 weeks, and every day he's weighed down with worry." "Miserable. Lost weight." In my last life, even when I was gravely ill, he hadn't been miserable. "Yvonne, are you here as his messenger or to dig for information?" "What do you mean, dig for information?" "To find out if I'm really going to divorce him." My tone turned cold. "So let me tell you officially, I'm serious. This is an tantrum." "Emily, how can you think of me that way?" There was a note of wounded grievance in her voice. "We're friends, I truly care about you." "Friends?" I thought back to what he'd said at my funeral in my last life. Emily Lane was a bit dramatic, always taking things too seriously. "Maybe it's a good thing for Ethan to be free now." That was his idea of caring. "If you really care about me," I said evenly, "then stop trying to talk me into going back. I'm doing better now than I ever have before." "But there's no but." I cut her off. "Yvonne, I have work to do. I'm hanging up now." I ended the call and immediately added her number to my block list. One by one, these people had come to advise me, claiming it was for my own good, when in truth they simply couldn't stand that I was breaking their unspoken rules. In their eyes, a military wife should silently endure, unconditionally support her husband, and swallow all her grievances without complaint. I was determined to shatter that rule. I kept writing late into the night. When I was tired, I slept. When I woke, I worked. Life was simple and pure this way. No complicated social obligations, no emotional entanglements, only me and my words. The next morning, Xiaoying and I went to Shuanglong. The lakeside town was peaceful and calm. Fishermen already at work for the day. We found an inn by the water and ordered local specialties. "Miss Lane, why did you choose to become a writer?" Xiaoying asked between bites. "Because I like it," I said after thinking for a moment. "I like recording life and feelings and words." "Then why did you stop working after you got married?" His question caught me off guard. Why did I stop? Because Ethan Cooper said a military wife shouldn't be in the public eye. Because Linda Foster said a woman should put her family first. Because the other officers' wives said we needed to focus on being the support system at home. Little by little, I believed it. I thought giving up my work was the right thing to do, a sign of love. Now, looking back, it was laughable. I thought family was more important back then. I said quietly, "And now? Now I think I'm more important." Xiaoying smiled. I think you're right. Everyone should have their own career. After lunch, we strolled along Air High Lake. The water was crystal clear, a gentle breeze rippling across its surface, the distant mountains like a painting. I took out my phone to snap a few photos, thinking to post them online, but then set it down. This beauty I wanted to keep for myself. I didn't need anyone's likes or comments. Didn't need to prove anything to anyone. In the afternoon, my lawyer called. Miss Lane, there's a development from the court. What is it? The other party's lawyer has requested to postpone the hearing, claiming they need more time to prepare materials. I frowned. A delay tactic. Very likely. But don't worry, the court won't allow an indefinite delay. At most, it'll be pushed back a month. I understand. After hanging up, my mood felt heavier. Ethan had started using every possible means to stall. But it didn't matter. I had plenty of time, and this time I would not compromise. That evening, I sat on the end's balcony, watching the fishing lights on Air High Lake. From afar came the long, mournful calls of fishermen. I thought of my past self, waiting at home every day for Ethan to return for a single phone call for one smile. Back then, I had placed all my happiness in his hands. Only now do I understand true happiness can only come from myself. Anyone can leave. Any relationship can end. But the relationship I have with myself is forever. I took out my phone and sent a message to the magazine editor. This piece is going really smoothly. I expect to submit it next week. Also, if there are any other travel assignments, I can take them all. The reply came quickly. Perfect. Next month there's a project in Tibet. Are you interested? Tibet. I'd always wanted to go, but in my last life, Ethan Cooper told me it was too dangerous and forbade me from going. Now there was no one to stop me. I'm interested. Send me the details so I can take a look. After sending the message, I drew in a deep breath. Freedom felt incredible. When I returned to Beijing from Yunnan, I spotted a familiar military vehicle parked downstairs from my apartment. It was Ethan's. I hesitated for a moment, then walked over. The driver, Liu, quickly got out when he saw me. Ma'am, you're back. Did Ethan send you? Yes. The commander said you were returning from your trip and told me to take you home. Home? Which home? I shook my head. Thank you, but no, I'll go up myself. Ma'am, Liu looked troubled. The commander insisted I bring you back. Looking at his conflicted face, I felt a twinge of guilt. Liu was a good kid, honest, straightforward, and he'd always treated me well over the years. Liu, go back and tell the commander I won't be going. It's not your fault. It's my decision. I said gently. He grew anxious. Ma'am, what's going on between you and the commander? Lately, he's been completely different, preoccupied all the time. Sometimes when you call his name, he doesn't even hear it. Doesn't hear it. For a fleeting moment, something stirred in my chest, but I quickly pushed it down. Liu, don't worry about grown-ups' problems. Just focus on driving. But I told him before walking into the apartment building. The moment I stepped into the elevator, my phone rang. It was Ethan. Emily, you're back. I'm downstairs. Come down. I'm not coming down. Emily Lane, don't push it. His voice was edged with anger. It's been a month. Have you caused enough trouble yet? Trouble? There it was again, that word. Ethan Cooper, I'm not making trouble. I'm dead serious. Serious about what? Seriously destroying our marriage. It's you who destroyed it, not me. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end. Emily, come up. Let's talk. If there's a problem, we can work it out. His tone had softened. There's nothing to talk about. If you won't come down, I'll come up. Even if you do, I won't open the door. Emily Lane, I hung up. When I walked into my apartment, I saw a bouquet of flowers on the coffee table with a card that read, Emily, welcome home, Ethan. So he had been here. I tossed the flowers into the trash and ripped the card into pieces. Sending flowers at a time like this, what was the point? In the past, on my birthday, he'd been in a meeting. When I was gravely ill, he'd been away on a business trip. Every time I'd needed him most, he hadn't been there. And now that I didn't need him anymore, he was suddenly attentive. That night, Linda Foster called. "Emily, you're back. Ethan said you all come home." "Mom, I'm no longer part of that home." "Don't say such nonsense," she said quickly. Her voice urgent. "No matter what's happened between you two, you're still my daughter-in-law." Hearing that did stir something inside me. "Mom, Ethan Cooper and I really can't go on anymore." "Why can't you go on?" she asked. "Is it because Ethan did something wrong?" "Something wrong?" I let out a bitter laugh. If it were just that, there might still be a chance to fix it. The problem is, he never did anything at all. There are some things I could tell you, but you wouldn't understand. "Tell me," she pressed. "I'll stand up for you. Stand up for me." In my last life, Linda Foster had been the first to support Ethan and Claire Summers being together after I died, saying young people should move on. "Mom, you should get some rest." "I still have work to do." "Emily," her voice wavered. "Don't treat me like this, it hurts me." Hearing her cry did make my heart ache, but I couldn't allow myself to soften. "Mom, I'll come see you regularly, but I'm not going back to that house." "Why not?" "Because it was never my home." I hung up and leaned back on the couch. I knew Linda truly cared for me, at least on the surface, but when her son and her daughter-in-law were in conflict, who would she side with? The answer was obvious. Blood ties will always be stronger than marital bonds. The next day I went to the magazine office and turned in my piece on Yunnan. The editor was very pleased and immediately handed me the detailed itinerary for next month's Tibet trip. "Emily, you're in such great shape. This piece has real spirit." "Thank you." "Oh, by the way, a publishing house wants to put out a travel anthology and ask if we had any suitable authors to recommend." "I think you'd be perfect." "Interested." "Publishing a book. This had always been my dream." "Of course I'm interested. I'll give you their contact info so you can talk." I left the office in high spirits. Work was going well, the future looked bright, and life felt full of hope. This feeling was even better than being in love. In the afternoon, I went to the bank to take care of some arrangements for the Tibet trip. Just as I stepped outside, I ran into Zachary Allen. His expression was complicated when he saw me. "Emily, you really are back. Do you need something?" I didn't want to waste words. "Do you know Ethan's in the hospital?" I froze. "Hospital? When?" "Yesterday," he said, watching my face closely. "Stomach bleeding." "He's still there now." "Stomach bleeding." A flicker of concern passed through me, but I quickly suppressed it. "Then you should be at the hospital with him, not blocking me here." "Emily, you're really not worried at all." His disbelief was clear. "That's your husband." "Not for much longer." "He's sick because of you," Zachary said, raising his voice. "He hasn't been eating, can't sleep, and he's lost more than 20 pounds these past weeks." "Because of me," I gave a cold laugh. "Zachary Allen, are you sure it's because of me and not for some other reason?" He hesitated. "Other reason? What other reason?" I didn't answer and simply walked away. In my last life, where had Ethan been when I was gravely ill? Where had he been when I needed him most? Now that he was the one sick, he expected me to soften. Too late. When I got home, I opened my laptop and began researching travel guides for Tibet. There was a lot to prepare for this trip. Medicine for altitude sickness, warm clothing. I stayed busy sorting my photography equipment until late at night before finally going to shower and sleep. In the middle of the night, my phone rang, waking me up. It was Linda Foster. "Emily, did you know Ethan's in the hospital?" I glanced at the time, 2 a.m. "I know." "Then why aren't you going to see him?" Her voice was trembling, almost in tears. "The doctor said it's acute stomach bleeding. It's very dangerous." Very dangerous. My chest tightened for a moment. Mom, he has doctors taken care of him. You don't need to worry. Emily, no matter what conflicts you two have, he's sick now. You should go see him. I'm not going. Why not? Her voice rose. Do you have no conscience at all? Conscience, I almost laughed. Mom, where was he when I was sick? When were you ever sick? Of course, Linda didn't even know. In my previous life, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I told Ethan immediately. He only said, I know, and never brought it up again. When my condition worsened, he was away on a business trip. When I had surgery, he was in a meeting. When I died, he was having dinner with Claire Summers. Now that it's his turn to be sick, I'm suddenly expected to have a conscience. Mom, you should stay with him. I'm not going. Emily, what happened to you? She cried. He used to be so kind, so gentle. Now you're so cold-blooded. Cold-blooded. The word stung, but I didn't argue. I knew that in their eyes, any version of me that didn't meet their expectations would be labeled that way. Mom, get some rest. I hung up, turned off my phone, and lay back down, but I couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling back to Ethan being sick. Stomach bleeding was indeed serious. I'd had stomach problems in my last life. I knew that pain. For a moment, I wavered. Should I go see him? After all, we had been husband and wife. But then I thought, what for? We were about to divorce to give him hope or to make myself miserable. I pulled the blanket over my head and forced myself not to think about it. Still, I didn't sleep a wink until morning. The next day I went to the hospital, not out of softness, but to end things completely. Some words needed to be said face to face. Ethan was in a VIP ward, with Liu standing outside the door. His face lit up when he saw me. Ma'am, you're here. The commander will be so happy to know. I didn't respond and pushed the door open. The room was quiet. Ethan lay on the bed, pale-faced, eyes closed. When he heard my footsteps, he opened his eyes. For a moment, he was stunned, then a hint of surprise lit them. Emily, you came. I sat in the chair by his bed. I heard you had stomach bleeding. It's nothing serious. Just my old problem acting up. He tried to sit up. I'm glad you came to see me. Ethan, I didn't come here because I was worried about you. I looked him straight in the eye. I came to make things clear. His expression froze. Make what clear? The divorce, I said calmly. There's no room for negotiation. No matter what tricks he used to stall, my decision won't change. His face turned even paler. Emily, why do you have to be so heartless? Heartless, I thought of how he treated me in my last life and couldn't help but give a cold laugh. Ethan, the heartless one was you, not me. How was I heartless? He said, agitated. I gave you the best life. I gave you everything. Everything. I cut him off. Everything cold. Everything indifferent. Everything perfunctory. My words left him speechless. Do you know? I said, my voice calm, but every word like a blade. In 3 years, you've never once looked at me properly. In your eyes, I was just a decoration, a wife in name, only someone you could take or leave. That's not true. It is. I stood up. Ethan, I was never in your heart. So why should I continue in a marriage that means nothing? He reached out to grab me, but I stepped away. Emily, give me a chance. I can change. I let out a mocking laugh. That's exactly what you said last time. He froze. I realized I'd said too much and quickly corrected myself. I mean, every time I've brought up a problem, you've said you can change, but you never actually did. This time is different, he said urgently. This time I'm serious. Serious? I gave him a cold look, and what about Claire? At her name, his expression shifted. She has nothing to do with us. Really? I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo. Then explain this. The picture was one Jack Gates had sent me yesterday, supposedly to show me how haggard Ethan looked. But what caught my attention wasn't his appearance. It was the vase of lilies beside his hospital bed. Lilies were Claire's favorite flowers. When Ethan saw the photo, his face darkened instantly. "Who sent those flowers?" I asked. He didn't answer. "Claire gave them to you, didn't she?" I pressed. "She knew you were in the hospital and came to see you." "Emily, let me explain." "No need." I put my phone away. "Ethan, there's nothing left for us to talk about." "That's not true." He tried to get out of bed, but I pushed him back down. "Emily, listen to me. There's nothing between me and Claire." "Then why did you see her? Why accept her flowers?" He had no answer. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Ethan, our problem isn't Claire. It's that you never loved me." "I love you," he said desperately. "Emily, I love you." Those 3 words, I'd waited 3 years to hear them, but now they only felt like a cruel joke. "If this is what you call love, I don't want it." I turned and walked toward the door. "Ethan, take care of yourself. I'll have my lawyer send over the divorce papers." "Emily," he called after me. "You can't treat me like this." I stopped in my tracks. I turned back to look at him. "Ethan, the way you treated me before, that's exactly how I'm treating you now." "When did I ever wrong you?" "You really don't know." I gave a cold laugh. "Or are you just pretending not to?" He glared at me, his eyes full of anger and confusion. "Ethan, ask yourself honestly, these past 3 years, have you ever once treated me like a wife?" I said each word slowly and clearly. "Have you ever invested any real emotion in me? Have you ever cared about how I felt? Have you ever bothered to understand what I was thinking?" Every question was like a knife stabbing deep into him. His face grew paler and paler, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. "You haven't," I said, giving him the answer myself. "In your eyes, I was just a tool to handle outside pressure. When you needed me, you brought me out to show off. When you didn't, you tossed me in a corner." "That's not." I cut him off. "This is reality, Ethan. Cruel reality. You never loved me, and I will never love you again." Without another glance, I turned and walked out of the hospital room. Behind me came his anguished roar. "Emily, come back. Come back to me." But I didn't turn back. The sunlight outside was blinding, and I squinted against it. Finally, everything had been said. From now on, we would have nothing more to do with each other. My phone rang. It was an editor from the publishing house. "MS. Lynn, we've read your work and are very interested. Do you have time next week to meet and discuss details?" "Of course," I replied. "Then it's settled. I'll send you the address shortly." After hanging up, I took a deep breath. My new life started now. That evening, back at my apartment, I began packing my bags. I was leaving for Tibet the day after tomorrow. This trip would be longer than usual, so I had a lot to prepare. While sorting my camera gear, the doorbell rang. I thought it was a delivery, but when I opened the door, I saw Claire standing there. She looked haggard. Her eyes read as if she'd been crying. "Emily, I want to talk to you," she said. "There's nothing to talk about." I started to close the door, but she put her hand out to stop it. "Please, just a few minutes." Seeing her like that, I hesitated for a moment before letting her in. She sat on the sofa, head lowered, silent for a long time. "If you have something to say, just say it." "I have things to do," I urged. "Emily, I want to beg you for something." She lifted her head, her eyes brimming with tears. "Don't divorce Ethan, please." Her words caught me off guard. "Why?" "Because he really loves you," she said through sobs. "Today at the hospital, he kept calling your name. The doctor said his condition is bad. If this continues, he might. Might what?" "He might be in danger of losing his life." Danger to his life. A jolt went through me, but I quickly steadied myself. Claire, do you really think I'd believe your words? I'm telling the truth, she said urgently. Emily, whether you believe it or not, Ethan truly loves you. And what about you? I looked at her coldly. Don't you love him? My question stopped her in her tracks. Her face turned pale. Claire, I said evenly, are you here to talk me out of the divorce because Ethan asked you to, or because you suddenly had a pang of conscience? She bit her lip but didn't answer. I'm guessing it's the first one. I stood up. He asked you to come because he knows that no one but you could possibly influence my decision. It's not. It is. I cut her off. Ethan's smart. He knows exactly what I care about most, so he sent you. Her tears fell even harder. Emily, why do you have to think of us this way? Because that's the truth. I walked to the door. Claire, have you two finished your little performance yet? What performance? A devoted man, a kind-hearted ex-girlfriend, and an unreasonable wife. I gave a cold laugh. You've been playing that act for 3 years. Aren't you tired? She froze, staring at me, unable to speak. Well, now the unreasonable wife is stepping off the stage. You can finally be together openly. I opened the door. Congratulations. I wish you happiness. Emily, no. It's not what you think. You've misunderstood. I haven't misunderstood, I said calmly. Claire, sometimes when you're in the middle of something, you can't see clearly, but I'm an outsider now and I see everything for what it is. She tried to speak again, but I cut her off. That's enough. Everything that needed to be said has been said. You can go now. She stood, eyes full of despair. Emily, if something really happens to Ethan, you'll regret it. Claire, I said, meeting her gaze. If I let your threats force me into compromising, that's when I truly regret it. My words completely broke her. She covered her face, sobbing, and ran out. I closed the door and leaned against it. This farce was finally about to end. The day of the court hearing arrived. I wore a simple black suit and light makeup, arriving at the courthouse half an hour early. My lawyer was already waiting outside. Miss Lynn, are you ready? I'm ready. The other side may try every excuse to block the divorce today. You must stand firm in your position. I will. Walking into the courtroom, I saw Ethan already seated at the defendant's table. He looked even more worn out than the last time I saw him. Pale-faced, eyes sunken. When he saw me, a flicker of complicated emotion crossed his gaze. I ignored it and walked straight to the plaintiff's table. The judge entered and announced the start of the hearing. Now hearing the divorce dispute case of Emily Lynn versus Ethan Grant. First came the statements from both sides' lawyers. My lawyer briefly explained the grounds for the suit. The marriage had broken down beyond repair, and we could no longer live together. Ethan's lawyer gave a long-winded rebuttal, claiming the marriage hadn't completely broken down and there was still a chance to save it, insisting I was acting on impulse. Then came the evidence phase. My lawyer submitted proof of Ethan's long-term neglect, phone records, text message logs, and more. Ethan's lawyer submitted photos from throughout our marriage, attempting to show we had a harmonious relationship. I remembered every single one of those photos. They were all taken at public events, and yes, on the surface they looked perfect. But only I knew that behind each image was a one-woman show I had been forced to perform. Now the parties themselves may make statements, the judge said. I stood and cleared my throat. Your Honor, my reason for requesting a divorce is very simple. My relationship with the defendant has broken down, and we cannot continue living together. What specifically demonstrates that breakdown, the judge asked. The defendant has been cold and indifferent toward me. He doesn't care about my feelings. Between us, there's no basic communication or understanding. Does the plaintiff have any evidence proving that the defendant engaged in wrongful conduct? The judge asked. I was silent for a moment. Wrongful conduct. From a legal standpoint, Ethan really hadn't committed any obvious offense. He hadn't cheated, hadn't been violent, hadn't gambled, and he rarely even raised his voice. His problem was indifference, neglect, treating me like I was invisible, but in the eyes of the law, none of that counted as wrongful conduct. There's no obvious wrongful conduct, I answered truthfully, but the relationship has undeniably broken down. It was Ethan's turn to speak. He stood, his voice slightly hoarse. Your Honor, I do not agree to the divorce. What is your reason? Our relationship hasn't broken down. There have just been some small disagreements. He glanced at me. I'm willing to correct my shortcomings and save this marriage. Correction. Saving. Again with the same lines. I looked at him coldly, feeling nothing inside. Does the defendant admit he has not shown enough care toward the plaintiff? The judge asked. Ethan hesitated. I admit that because of work, I haven't cared for my wife enough, but that doesn't mean our relationship has broken down. It's just an area I need to improve. And how does the defendant intend to improve? I'll adjust my work schedule, spend more time with my wife, and pay more attention to her feelings. Hearing that, I almost laughed. Adjust his schedule. Spend more time with me. Did he think this was some stage performance? What is the plaintiff's opinion on the defendant's promises? The judge asked me. I stood. Your Honor, I've heard these promises many times before, but they've never been fulfilled. I'm completely disappointed in this marriage and don't want to give it any more chances. Has the plaintiff considered mediation? No. I shook my head firmly. My stance was clear. I wanted a divorce. The judge looked between us. Given the wide differences between both parties, the court will choose another date to deliver the verdict. Your Honor, I have more to say, Ethan suddenly interjected. Go ahead. He looked at me, pain in his eyes. Emily, I know I haven't done enough, but I truly love you. His voice trembled. Please give me one more chance. I promise I'll change. Defendant, this is a court of law, not a place for emotional mediation. The judge reminded him. I know, but I have to say it. Tears spilled down Ethan's face. Emily, without you, I can't go on. For a moment, seeing him cry shook me. But then I remembered everything from my previous life, how indifferent he had been when I was gravely ill, how absent he was when I died, and how, at my funeral, he had held Claire in his arms. Defendant, please control your emotions, the judge said. Ethan wiped his tears and sat down. This session is adjourned. We'll wait for the verdict. The judge concluded. Walking out of the courtroom, I took a deep breath. It was finally over. My lawyer came over. Miss Lynn, I think our chances are very good. The judge seemed sympathetic toward you. When will we know the result? About a week. I nodded. Thank you. Just as I was about to leave, Ethan rushed after me. Emily, wait, I stopped. But I didn't turn back. Do you really hate me that much? His voice was quiet, carrying endless sorrow. I don't hate you, I replied calmly. Hate requires feelings, and I have none left for you. That sentence clearly cut deep. He stood behind me for a long time, but in the end said nothing more. When I got home, I began my final packing. Tomorrow, I would leave for Tibet. By the time I returned, I should have the divorce certificate in hand, and then I would be completely free. That evening, Mrs. Lee called. Emily, was the hearing today? How did it go? We still have to wait for the verdict. She was silent for a while. Emily, do you really want to divorce Ethan? Her voice was soft, almost pleading. Yes, why? She started to cry. You two were fine. Why divorce? Fine. If this is what you call fine, then what counts as bad? Emily, there are some things you won't understand, I said quietly. Tell me, I'll help mediate between you two. I gave a bitter laugh. Mom, there's no one in this world who can mediate our problems. Emily, she choked up. Ethan really loves you. He's lost a lot of weight lately, barely eats. The same tired line again. Mom, if he truly loved me, things wouldn't have ended up like this. Child, everyone makes mistakes. Give him a chance to make it right. I've given him many chances. I said evenly. He's never valued them. Emily, Mom, you should get some rest. I'm leaving on a work trip tomorrow. Another trip? Where to? Tibet. That far? Her voice rose. The young woman like you going to a place like that. Why? What kind of work is so important you have to go somewhere so dangerous? I remembered how in my last life Ethan had said the exact same thing. Back then I listened and obediently gave up my trip to Tibet. Now I thought, why did I have to give it up? Tibet was my dream. Why should I abandon my dream just because someone else was worried? Mom, I'll take care of myself. Emily, don't go. It's too dangerous. It's not dangerous. Then wait until Ethan gets better and let him go with you. Let Ethan go with me. I almost laughed. Mom, we're about to get divorced. He won't be going anywhere with me. If you don't divorce, he'll go with you. That was her logic. Just to have a man's company, a woman should give up her own ideas and yield to his wishes. Mom, I don't need anyone to accompany me, I said firmly. I can go anywhere I want on my own. Emily, when did you become so stubborn? It's not stubbornness, it's clarity. I hung up and went back to packing. Tomorrow I would go to Tibet, the place I'd always dreamed of and the start of my new life. The sunlight in Lhasa was unique, bright and pure as if the whole world had been washed clean. I stood in Patala Palace Square, looking up at the majestic building, a wave of awe rising in my chest. At last I had come to the place of my dreams. Miss Lynn, how's your altitude sickness? The photographer John asked with concern. I'm okay, just a little dizzy. The altitude here is high, you'll get used to it slowly. I nodded, I lifted my camera and took a few shots. This trip to Tibet would take us to many places. Lhasa was only the first stop. Next we would head to Nanzo Lake, then to the Everest Base Camp. The schedule was tight, but I felt excited. Every single destination was somewhere I had always dreamed of visiting. After spending 2 days in Lhasa to adjust to the altitude, we set off for Nanzo. The scenery along the road was breathtaking, snow-capped mountains, endless grasslands, and crystal-clear lakes, all like something out of a painting. I held my notebook, recording everything I saw and the feelings that came with it. The sky was a pure, almost unreal blue. Clouds drifted lazily as if they were close enough to touch. The distant mountains were capped with snow that glittered under the sunlight as if they were the dwelling place of the gods. As I wrote, I suddenly thought of my past life. Back then, I spent every day in the military compound looking at the same scenery, living the same life. I thought that was happiness, that it was everything I wanted. Only now do I realize true happiness is freedom, the ability to chase your own dreams. Miss Lin, what are you writing? Zhang asked curiously. A travel journal, I said with a smile. The scenery here is so beautiful, it would be a shame not to write it down. You really love this job. Yes, I nodded. I truly do. When we arrived at Nanzo, I was stunned by the view before me. The water was as blue as gemstones, so clear you could see the bottom of the lake. The distant mountains in the sky reflected perfectly on the surface, making it impossible to tell where the water ended and the sky began. I sat by the lake quietly taking in the beauty. Suddenly, a line came to mind. Life isn't just about the struggles in front of you. It's also about poetry and distant places. In the past, all I had was the struggle right in front of me. Now I had finally found the poetry and the distant places. Just as I was lost in thought, my phone rang. It was a Beijing number, but not one I recognized. Hello? Miss Lee, this is the court staff. We have the result of your divorce case. My heart tightened. What's the result? The court has approved the divorce. Hearing that, I let out a long sigh of relief. Finally, I'm free. Thank you. I understand. When we be back to collect your divorce certificate next week. After hanging up, I stared at the lake, my eyes growing moist, not from sadness but from release. My 3-year marriage was finally over. Starting today, I was completely free. Miss Lin, did you get good news? Zhang asked, noticing the change in my expression. You could say that, I smiled. Something that's weighed on me for a long time has finally been resolved. Then congratulations. Thank you. I stood and took a deep breath of the Highland air. Then as it felt pure and sweet, just like my mood at that moment. There was still a hollow space inside me. But it was light, unburdened, free. Over the next few days, we made it to Everest Base Camp. Standing at an altitude of 200 meters, looking up at the highest peak in the world, I felt both smaller than ever and greater than ever. Small because before nature, humans are indeed insignificant. Great because I finally had the courage to chase my own dreams, to live for myself. That night in my tent, I wrote for a long time. Today I saw Everest. I saw the roof of the world. It stood there, silent and unmoving. For tens of thousands of years it had stood the same, witnessing the changes of the world. I thought that life should be like Everest. Having its own height, its own persistence, unmoved by the storms outside, unchanged for the gaze of others. After writing that line, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. This time I was finally living for myself. On the last day of our trip to Tibet, we visited a small village. The village was tiny, with only a dozen or so households. But every face carried a simple, genuine smile. I chatted with an elderly Tibetan woman, though she didn't speak Mandarin well. Her smile was warm. You are young. Very beautiful, she said in imperfect Mandarin. Thank you, Grandma. Do you have children? No. It's okay. You will have them in the future. She patted my hand. A woman should live for herself. Don't only think about others. Her words struck me deeply. An illiterate Tibetan grandmother had spoken the truth that had taken me 3 years to understand. A woman should live for herself. Such a simple truth, yet it had taken me so long to learn. When we said goodbye, she gave me a kata. This is a blessing, she said. May you find true happiness. I took it with both hands and tears slipped down my face, not from sadness but from gratitude, from the joy of being reborn. Returning to Beijing from Tibet, I felt like a different person. My skin was darker from the sun, but my eyes were brighter. My body was tired, but my soul felt more fulfilled than ever. The next day, I went to the courthouse to collect my divorce certificate. Looking at the red booklet in my hands, I felt a mix of emotions. 3 years of marriage had ended just like that, yet I didn't regret it. On the contrary, I felt relieved. Leaving the courthouse, I went to the bank to change my name back, Emily Lane. The name once again belonged entirely to me. That evening, I ordered a table full of dishes in my apartment, not because I could finish them all, but because I wanted to celebrate my new beginning, celebrate my freedom. During dinner, I sent a WeChat message to the magazine editor. The Tibet article is ready. I'll send it to you tomorrow. Also, I wanted to ask, are there any other assignment trips? The reply came quickly. Perfect. There's a project in Xinjiang next month. Are you interested? Xinjiang, another place I had always wanted to go. Of course I'm interested. Then it's settled. I'll send you the details tomorrow. I put down my phone and walked to the balcony. Beijing at night sparkled with countless lights. The streets alive with traffic. This city was vast, full of endless possibilities, and now I finally had the chance to explore them. My phone rang again. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello, Emily. It was Ethan Cooper's voice. I froze for a moment. How heavy got in a new number. What do you want? I know you got the divorce certificate, he said quietly. I want to see you one last time. One last time. I hesitated. What for? There are things I want to say to you. We've already said everything that needed to be said. Please, just once for the last time. Hearing him say please stirred something faint inside me. After all, we had been married once. Seeing him one final time didn't seem unreasonable. Fine. Where? The cafe downstairs from your building. You're downstairs. I've been waiting all afternoon, he said. He had waited all afternoon. A complicated feeling rose in my chest, but I still agreed. I'll be right down. I went to change clothes and then headed downstairs to the cafe. Ethan Cooper was sitting in a corner, his back toward the door. When he saw me, he stood up, a flicker of surprise lighting his face. You've lost weight. He said the conditions in the Highlands were tough. I sat down across from him. What did you want to see me about? He looked at me, his eyes filled with conflicting emotions. Emily, I want to ask you a question. What question? If we could start over, would you choose to be with me again? Start over? I gave a bitter smile inside. If I truly could start over, if I didn't have the memories from my rebirth, maybe I would have been fooled by him again. But now that was impossible. No, I said firmly, shaking my head. His face went pale instantly. Why? Because we were never right for each other. I said evenly. Ethan, the problem between us isn't just a few incidents. It's a fundamental incompatibility. Incompatible how? Our worldviews don't match. Our values don't match. Our understanding of love doesn't match. I listed one by one. You want an accessory while I want a partner. My words hit him hard. Emily, I can change. You can't. I cut him off because this is who you are. He stayed silent for a long time before finally speaking. Then what about Chloe? What? Are you divorcing me because Chloe? I looked at him and suddenly found it laughable. Even now, he was still thinking about her. Ethan, Chloe was just the trigger, I said coldly. The real problem is that you never loved me. I did love you. You loved the Emily Lane who was obedient, compliant, and never caused you trouble. I interrupted. You didn't love me as a person. You loved the role I played. That hit the mark. You stared at me, unable to say a word in rebuttal. Now that role no longer wants to be played, I said as I stood. Ethan, for the rest of our lives, let's just go our separate ways and wish each other well. I turned to leave. Behind me, his voice rang out. Emily, I'll regret this. I paused for a moment but didn't look back. Your regret has nothing to do with me. Walking out of the cafe, I took a deep breath. This time it was truly over. 3 months later, my first travel essay collection, The Scenery Along the Road, was officially published. On the day of the book signing, many readers showed up and the scene was far livelier than I had expected. Mess. Lane, your writing is so moving. It makes me want to travel as soon as I finish reading, one reader said. Thank you, I replied with a smile, signing their copy. When will your next book come out? I'm working on it now. It should be out by the end of the year. After the signing, I went to dinner with my publisher's editor. Emily, your book sales are great. We've already gone into reprint, the editor said excitedly. We'd like to sign a long-term contract with you. I can consider it, I replied. Oh, and a TV station wants to invite you as a guest for a travel program. Are you interested? A TV program. That was an opportunity I'd never imagined. I can give it a try. Great, I'll send you their contact information. When I got home, I posted photos from the signing on social media. Very soon, friends began commenting. Emily, congratulations. When do you have time to meet up? You look so full of energy now. Reading through the comments, I felt a warm glow in my heart. These were friends I had met after restarting my career. They liked me not because of my status, but because of who I was. That feeling was truly wonderful. While I was replying to messages, my phone rang. It was Linda Cooper. Since the divorce, she had rarely contacted me. Emily, she said, her voice catching a little. I saw your book. It's really well written. Thank you, Mom. How have you been? Good. Really? Really? There was a brief silence on the other end. Emily, I want to see you. Of course, when? Do you have time tomorrow afternoon? Yes, the next afternoon I went to Linda's home. She now lived in a small apartment in the military compound compared to the big villa from before. It was much more modest. Mom, why did you move here? Ethan was reassigned, she said, pouring me some tea. So I moved out, living alone, something smaller is better. Reassigned? Where to? I couldn't help asking. A remote place near the border, she sighed. He said he wanted a change of environment. I didn't ask further. Where Ethan went was his business. It had nothing to do with me anymore. How's your health? I asked. Not bad. But sometimes I miss you, she said, looking at me with eyes full of maternal warmth. Emily, I've always wanted to say I'm sorry. Sorry for what? For not taking your side. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Back then, I only thought about Ethan. I didn't consider your feelings. Hearing that, my heart felt heavy. You didn't do anything wrong. You're his mother, standing by him was only natural. But you're also like a daughter to me, she said, holding my hand. Blood ties can't be cut, but emotional bonds can be built. Now I realize you needed my support more than he did. My eyes grew moist. Emily, I know you and Ethan can't get back together, and I won't try to persuade you. I just hope you can live well and be happy. I will. That's good. She wiped her tears. Oh, I made you some soup. Take it home and drink it. Thank you, Mom. When I left, Linda walked me all the way to the door. Emily, come visit me often. I will. Sitting in the taxi, I looked down at the thermos in my hands, my heart warm. Even though I had divorced Ethan, Linda still treated me like a daughter. That feeling was precious. A month later, I received an invitation from a TV station to participate in the recording of a travel program. They arranged for me to go to Tongyenan to experience the local folk culture. Several other guests would be joining, all outstanding professionals in their own fields. One of them was a man named Jason Jiang, a photographer. He didn't talk much but was very professional. MS. Lane, I've read your book. It's really good. He said shyly. Thank you. The recording went smoothly. We experienced the local hot springs, cuisine, and traditional handicraft making. Jason was very considerate, always quietly helping me carry things and reminding me to stay safe. You're such a nice person, I said to him with a smile. His face flushed. It's nothing really. After the recording ended, we had dinner together. MS. Lane, what hobbies do you usually have? Jason asked. Reading, writing, traveling. I thought for a moment. Oh, and I also like watching movies. I like watching movies too. His eyes lit up. Let's go see one together sometime. Sure, after returning to Beijing, Jason really did contact me to see a movie. We watched an art film about a woman who rediscovers herself. After the movie, we chatted in a cafe. That was an interesting film, Jason said. The heroine's experience is a little like yours. How so? I asked. She also walked out of a bad relationship and started her life over. I smiled. It's true. There are similarities. Do you still miss your old life? He asked. I thought about it carefully. No. I shook my head firmly. My life now is so much better than before. Why? Because now I live for myself. Jason looked at me with genuine admiration. You're really brave. It's not bravery. It's clarity. From then on, Jason often invited me out to watch movies, browse bookstores, visit museums, or try new restaurants. He was an interesting person, well-read and full of conversation. Being with him felt easy and pleasant. Emily, I want to ask you something, he said one day, suddenly serious. What is it? Would you like to be in a relationship with me? I was stunned. Since the divorce, no one had confessed to me so directly. Jason, why do you like me? I asked curiously. Because you carry light, he said earnestly. A warm light that makes people want to be near you. Light, it was such an interesting metaphor. But I had only recently divorced, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to start something new. I'm not sure I'm ready for a new relationship yet, I said honestly. That's fine. I can wait, he replied with a smile. I'm not in a hurry. Looking at the sincerity in his eyes, I felt touched. Then let's just be friends for now and see where it goes. He nodded happily. A few months later, my second book, Freedom of the Soul, was published. It was about my reflections after the divorce, about women's independence and the search for self. The response was even better than my first book. Many readers wrote to me, saying my book gave them courage. Miss Lane, after reading your book, I decided to leave the man who didn't love me. Your story made me realize that a woman must have her own career. Thank you for helping me understand that leaving someone isn't the scary part, losing yourself is. Reading those letters, I felt deeply comforted. If my experiences could help other women, then my pain had meaning. At the end of the year, I received an unexpected phone call. Miss Lane, I'm a doctor from hospital. Your ex-husband, Ethan Cooper, was injured on the job. His condition is critical. We couldn't reach any of his family members. Could you come over? Ethan injured. My heart tightened for a moment, but I quickly calmed down. Doctor, we're divorced. I'm not his family. But you're the only contact listed in his emergency information, the doctor said. He still had me listed as his emergency contact. I froze for a moment. What about his mother, I asked. We can't reach her. I hesitated. How is his condition? It's critical. He needs surgery, the doctor said. But we need a family member's signature. A family member's signature. But at this point, I was no longer his family. Doctor, I really am not his family. Please try to contact someone else. Miss Lane, I'm begging you, he's in real danger right now. Hearing the urgency in the doctor's voice, my heart softened. All right, I said. I'll come right away. After hanging up, I sat on the couch, staring blankly. Ethan Cooper still had me listed as his emergency contact. What did that mean? Had he simply forgotten to change it? Or did he leave it there on purpose? Forget it. Whatever the reason, this was about a life. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. I immediately hailed a cab to the hospital. When I arrived, the doctor led me to the ICU. Through the glass window, I saw Ethan lying on the bed. His face pale, tubes inserted all over his body. He looked so weak. Doctor, what happened to him? I asked. He was injured in an explosion during a mission. Multiple wounds, massive blood loss, the doctor explained seriously. He needs immediate surgery, but the risks are high. How high? 30% chance of success. Only 30%, my heart sank. And if he doesn't have the surgery, he definitely won't survive the night. I fell silent. No matter what had happened between us, Ethan had once been my husband. I couldn't just watch him die. I'll sign. As soon as I signed the consent form, the doctor arranged the surgery immediately. I waited outside the operating room. My emotions and mix I couldn't fully name. It would be a lie to say I wasn't worried, but it wasn't deep concern either, more like the feeling toward an old friend. I hoped he'd be okay, but that was all. The surgery lasted 6 hours. During that time, Jason came to keep me company and even brought me food. How did you know I was here? I asked. You posted on your social media, he said. I was worried about you being alone, so I came. The concern in his eyes warmed me. Thank you. No need. That's what friends are for. At 3 a.m, the surgery finally ended. The doctor came out looking tired but smiling. The surgery was a success. He's out of danger. Hearing that, I finally let out a long breath of relief. Thank you, doctor. He still needs some time under observation, and visitors aren't allowed for now. I understand. By the time I left the hospital, the sky was beginning to lighten. Jason drove me home, and we sat in silence most of the way. "Emily, do you still love him?" he asked suddenly as we neared my place. I thought for a moment. "No." "Then why did you come to the hospital?" "Because I'm a person with a conscience." I smiled faintly. Helping him doesn't mean I still love him. It just means I don't want to see a life disappear. He let out a quiet breath. "I see. You won't misunderstand because of this, will you?" "No." He shook his head. "If anything, I respect you even more." "Why?" "Because you're kind but not foolish." That compliment made me smile. Kind but not foolish. That's exactly who I am now. A month later, I received a text from Ethan Cooper. "Thank you for saving me." I didn't reply. A few days later, another one came. "I know you don't want to see me, but I still wanted to say thank you." I still didn't reply. A week passed and then another message arrived. "Emily, I saw the most beautiful snow-capped mountains here in the borderlands. I remembered you once said you wanted to go to Tibet. I'm glad your dream came true." Reading that, I was a little surprised. He still remembered my dream of going to Tibet. I thought about it for a moment, then replied with a short message. "Thanks. Take care of yourself." After that, I deleted his number. That was our last contact. From then on, we had nothing to do with each other. Spring arrived and I decided to go to Tibet again. This time it wasn't for work. It was for closure. Jason offered to go with me and I agreed. "Does this trip to Tibet have a special meaning?" he asked on the plane. "No special meaning," I said, gazing at the clouds outside the window. "I just want to see it again. To feel that purity one more time." "So does this count as us traveling together?" "I guess so," I said with a smile. "Our first trip together. Hope it's not the last." "It won't be." I took his hand. "There are so many places we can see together." He smiled. His eyes filled with warmth. The plane broke through the clouds, heading toward the snowy plateau. I looked at the mountains growing closer outside the window. My heart calmed and steady. This time, I wasn't coming to run away from something. I was coming to embrace something. Embrace freedom. Embrace love. Embrace life. And embrace the brand new me.